Hi, welcome to Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, January 28, 2025. Time in Texas about 1 p.m. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. Thanks for like, subscribe, and share, and for hitting the like button, which helps my channel to grow. Today, some of the things we'll cover: President Trump, boots on the ground, and shootout at the border, and Deepseek. So let's get started. So we have this. President Trump withdrew right after his inauguration last week. Can it only be a week since he was inaugurated? So much has happened. The President Trump withdrew the U.S. from the WHO, the World Health Organization. Now, Sunday, a memo went out from President Trump, who we see exerts a boots on the ground philosophy. Speak it and do it. And a memo went out to the CDC of the U.S. government saying, stop all work and all contact with WHO in person and digitally. So the CDC was to immediately stop all contact with WHO, and the CDC is not allowed to visit the WHO offices, and also stop all communication and meetings. So that's going on. And we say, bring it. We, the people of America, could see the WHO gearing up for another pandemic. No, we don't want that. And we have this from Breitbart. President Trump's philosophy of boots on the ground. So we had the newly confirmed Secretary of Homeland Security, the former governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, boots on the ground Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. She was dressed in bulletproof tactical gear, and she met with Secret Service, U.S. Marshals, NYPD plus. And the objective, get the dirtbags off of the streets, the illegals, many of whom have committed heinous crimes, such as murder and rape. And she was thanking also the brave officers who are going forth to do the directives of President Trump. And now we have this from a Patriot subscriber. JB said no drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, but now it's the Gulf of America. Drill, baby, drill. That's absolutely right. And we in Texas especially like that philosophy. Of a Patriot subscriber talking about chemtrails all day long, Broward County, Florida. We in Texas also see those. We, the people, need to ask President Trump to address this issue. What are these chemtrails? And I have this. I find it curious. So I put out that we're waiting for the confirmation of the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Bobby Kennedy Jr., and I said he will also end fluoride in municipal drinking water. Well, I have a Patriot subscriber who says in the 1966 movie In Like Flint, James Coburn played President of the U.S. And the issue was the U.S. citizens picketing the White House to remove fluoride from the water. And this was 1966. I have another Patriot subscriber who said, what about the fluoride in toothpaste? Is it also going to be removed? I believe so. And now I have a Patriot subscriber. I heard the Chinese are broadcasting on radio out of Mexico into Texas, Arizona, and California to give orders to the Chinese CCP sleeper cells. I added that part. And I'm wondering if this could be true, and this is part of the 200 radio stations George Soros was able to buy under the previous administration, JB. And that included the radio station in San Diego. That was, we have more details. So we heard from Hal Turner, this radio station, I think it's KCBS, out of San Diego, was communicating the location of ICE agents in the violent East Jose sector. But now it's coming out. It was even worse than I initially reported. This radio station was broadcasting the license plate and description of 3 undercover ICE agents. That means the radio station had received intel, possibly from the law enforcement or some other source, and they were broadcasting. They definitely were placing the ICE agents' lives in jeopardy. Now, President Trump also controls the FCC, which gives license to radio stations. I believe President Trump's team needs to investigate this incident. So that's going on. Now I have a Patriot subscriber. I mentioned the Earth tilt, and apparently she had childhood dreams about the future in which the Earth would tilt. And she says, if the Earth tilts, shouldn't the tropical zones move north by 15 degrees? And that was part of her childhood dreams. And yes, we had that information. That was from Mike from around the world. We believe he works for the U.S. government. Mike knows stuff. And BP Earthwatch has also been keeping up on Earth tilt. So my Patriot subscriber's childhood dream was that the tropics would move north by 15 degrees. And this fits in with the information that Mike from around the world recently put out. So yeah. Now I have this from Ryan Hall and also Texas Weather Center. Weather later this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're going to see a cold front come into the U.S. Warm air from the Gulf of America. They're going to clash, and so we'll have thunderstorms in central U.S. and as well as in central Texas, which will then move into Louisiana. So yeah, that's coming up. And now we have this from Midas Touch News. President Trump also has frozen money to go to certain activities that the U.S. government gives money to end the woke message and also Marxism being put out by the U.S. government, and also stopping the weaponization of the U.S. government against its citizens, and end messages and support groups and money for the Green New Deal. This will freeze federal spending. Exempt from this memo are such things as Social Security and Medicaid and other direct money assistance to American citizens. So that, and he had already put out a previous memo freezing all new hires for the U.S. government. Way to go, President Trump. And now from WION. Okay, so we have this new, we heard President Trump talk about in Abilene, Texas, is going to begin a $500 billion AI Stargate project. And I put out in my last video that Prophet Kim Clement had actually predicted the future regarding, I believe, this AI Stargate project, and it would result in new medical treatments for cancer, dementia, and so on in 2027. Now, Kim Clement had this prophecy in 2008. So we see moving forward with AI. Now, yesterday I kept seeing these things, Deepseek. And so I investigated that. What is that? Okay, this is a Chinese AI program that China says, hey, we're putting out this new AI product, and essentially it's to give a language part to an AI general program. And China says, yeah, and we're putting it out free. Anybody can download this and associate it with your new AI product. Now, this is my thinking. We know new products coming out of China. I believe China is not as good at creating new products as they are at stealing and copying new products. So if you download their free Deepseek language AI program and associate it with your new program, I believe that's going to bring in secret back doors so they can steal your product. Now, we also had confirmed President Trump's nominee, Bassett, to be Secretary of the Treasury. Look for President Trump to be putting forth new directives and memos for the economy of the U.S. So that's going on. And now we have this from Forbes. Yes, I saw this morning. Congressional hearing. Ted Cruz, Republican of Texas, was talking about the Panama Canal, which allegedly the U.S. government gave to the government of Panama under President Carter. But wait, the U.S. government did not give the Panama Canal to the government of Panama. It actually passed to the control of the government of Panama under a treaty. And under this treaty, the U.S. may take it back if certain situations come about that threaten the security of the U.S. And this is what we see now. We see the Panama Canal under the control of China's military arm, the CCP, which is controlling the Panama Canal right now and closing it to most U.S. traffic, and also putting in place their military. Now, talking about the leader, President Trump's leader of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, she stands in stark contrast to the previous JB Dem leader of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, who would carry bagfuls of U.S. cash down to the Panama Canal, which is the chief entry point for the CCP. So, Republican Ted Cruz is bringing this out in a congressional hearing. I submit, look for the U.S. military to soon take control of the Panama Canal. And of course, that may involve a dust-up with the Chinese military CCP, who are now embedded in Panama as well as Mexico. And now we have this from Hal Turner. President Trump has an acting AG for the Department of Justice, James McHenry, who has fired 12 attorneys who were working with Jack Smith. So let's go over this. Department of Justice, Jack Smith. And we know from the past year that Congress questioned Jack Smith, and it turns out Jack Smith was not operating legally to represent the U.S. government versus President Trump in his classified docs case that occurred in Florida when they went into Mar-a-Lago. Now, a president legally may have any documents, and he or she may declassify them. So from the get-go, Jack Smith's case against President Trump didn't hold water, and it was accurately described as being the weaponization of the U.S. government against a U.S. citizen. So Jack Smith also said he represented the government, but to do that, he would have had to have gone through a process whereby Congress said, yes, you represent the U.S. government against a U.S. citizen. Well, that never happened. So Jack Smith was always operating illegally as special counsel. So President Trump has had the acting AG, James McHenry. We know President Trump's nominee, Pam Bondi, former AG for Florida, is now going through her confirmation hearing. So James McHenry fired the 12 attorneys who were working with Jack Smith and stated they could not be trusted to faithfully implement the president's agenda. Speaking of President Trump. Now, I agree with this move. These 12 attorneys would have known that this was an illegal case because the president can declassify any document he wants. Now, the same DOJ had a case against JB that actually was legally correct. JB was accused of having classified documents in his garage when he was a vice president. That would be accurate. A vice president may not have possession of classified documents, and yet the same DOJ that was weaponized by the Dems against President Trump said about JB, yes, he broke the law, but, and this is while he was a sitting president, he is not mentally competent to stand trial. So, yeah, President Trump. Now, let's talk about that raid on Mar-a-Lago under this DOJ about classified documents in President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. The FBI came in, and we know Christopher Wray was the leader of the FBI. He's since resigned. However, I believe President Trump's team should investigate this FBI group, and President Trump is still waiting for his nominee, Kash Patel, to become the head of the FBI. I put this forth. Under this DOJ trying to seek classified documents at President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home, an FBI, and I believe this group was not FBI agents, but rather black ops operators who came into Mar-a-Lago, and they had a covering memo of authority from the FBI. I submit this group came in not so much to secure documents as they came in to assassinate President Trump and his family. The memo of authority from the FBI that came out later showed that they could use deadly force, and the same FBI group had already arranged for ambulances to be in the area. They already had a map to take shot or deceased individuals to nearby hospitals. I submit this FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago regarding classified docs was actually an assassination team. So, President Trump, this is another area to investigate. So that's going on. And now we have this. Yeah, Texas weather. It's going to be a few thunderstorms later in the week. Okay, New York Prepper reports this. I hadn't heard anything about this. In Ireland, there's some type of mystery virus, and the government of Ireland is now considering a lockdown. And we have this. Lithuania and Estonia and Poland are increasing their percentage of their GDP under NATO to pay for defense up to 5%, as President Trump requested. And oh yes, Google is updating their maps to reflect the new name, Gulf of America. And we have this. Also from New York Prepper, last night we had up 2 nuke planes over the U.S., one over the Pacific, possibly to communicate with underwater subs. And in Ukraine, last night, Ukraine was under an air raid warning, and it's believed Russia was going to retaliate against Ukraine hitting an oil refinery in Russia. And President Trump is now putting forth a new executive order for the U.S. military-industrial complex to produce next-generation missile defense system for the U.S. Did you know that our missile defense system for the U.S. is practically non-existent and would not protect the U.S. from many missiles from foreign nations? This was all part of the deep state plan to destroy America, who had infiltrated the U.S. military, as well as Congress. But President Trump is addressing this issue. And we had this. Yeah. So we had in Fronton, Texas, yesterday, we had a shootout between the Border Patrol and the cartels. And they were trying to bring in illegals, and there was an exchange of gunfire. No one was hit on either side, and the illegals trying to cross the Rio Grande River did not come into America. And at the same time, the U.S. put up a helicopter and then could see into Mexico that the Mexican military is now at the border between the U.S. and Mexico. It's unknown, or being put forth publicly that it's unknown, what is prompting the Mexican military to mass troops at the border with the U.S. But that's going on. Now, from Stephen Gardner, President Trump, we know, visited North Carolina and immediately has taken action to order the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers into North Carolina to begin help in rebuilding North Carolina. FEMA. President Trump considers dismantling FEMA. So that's going on. And an alternate plan President Trump is floating is dismantle FEMA and then give money directly to the states for the states in their emergency response department to use that federal money to address issues relating to disasters in their states. And then President Trump would do away with FEMA. So that's going on. I like it. I think that would be a good use of the money. From the Western Journal, ICE. So we've had the largest number of arrests since President Trump was inaugurated, 2,000 to date of illegals. 956 were made Sunday. And through the previous Thursday, 1,300 had been made. So says the Border Patrol leader, Tom Homan. This includes sex offenders, murderers, and Trinidad Aragua gang members. Yeah. And President Trump has authorized in Los Angeles daybreak raids. Now, this authorization by President Trump in Los Angeles comes within hours after this radio station in San Diego was broadcasting the location of undercover ICE agents. I got this to say, watch out, California. And from Latin Times, oh yes. So we know over the weekend, this happened Sunday, there was 2 U.S. military planes flying into Colombia with illegals. And the president of Colombia on Sunday said, no, those U.S. planes can't land. We're not taking those illegals back. President Trump was advised of this Sunday while he was playing golf. He immediately took to Truth Social, a social media outlet he owns, and put forth about 5 different effects that Colombia could expect designed to destroy the economy of Colombia in less than 24 hours. Also on Sunday, about 2 hours after the president of Colombia had refused the U.S. military planes, the president of Colombia changed his position and said, oh yeah, we'll take all of our illegals. Yeah, that's fine. The U.S. military planes can land in Colombia. So that's the difference between a bureaucrat and a real leader. We see that reflected in President Trump and on a day-by-day basis. Now, El Salvador in South America is negotiating with the U.S. government to act as a recipient of third world illegals. In other words, El Salvador is negotiating with the U.S. for the U.S. to pay El Salvador for El Salvador to take in illegals from other countries besides El Salvador. So that might be a way of particularly swiftly getting out of the U.S. individuals. Well, Haiti would be a difficult place to return illegals. I mean, they're still under some kind of civil war. So, if El Salvador would act as a receiver nation state for third world countries, this would be good. And we have this going on. We know we have in California, we're under attack, it's believed, by the CCP. It's believed the CCP is causing the fires in California. So, by various methods. So that's going on. Now we have this off of the coast. We have Washington State, Oregon. Off of the coast of Oregon, we have axial seamount. This is several hundred miles off of the Oregon coast. It's a shield volcano that it is on the edge of the Juan de Fuca tectonic plate. It is showing increased signs of erupting, and it's predicted by geologists this could happen by the end of 2025. So says Dr. Mike Poland. He's a volcanologist under Yellowstone Group. And he says this eruption then could cause a tsunami. Now, I put out that information yesterday about a tsunami from FEMA via Celeste Salome. So, yes, that could happen. Now we have this from Irish Star. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Yep. So, under JB in December, the last month of his position, there was a prisoner exchange between the Taliban, Afghan government, and the U.S., a prisoner swap. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has found out that the Taliban, the Afghanistan government, has not been fully forthcoming about the names and the number of American citizens it is holding. So, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said to the Taliban, well, we want all the American citizens you're holding, including those that you haven't been forthcoming about to us. In other words, the U.S. government had intel about this. And Marco Rubio said, if not, we'll put high-level bounties on the heads of the Taliban government leaders, higher than bin Laden. So then, a Taliban spokesperson returned a threat against the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. So Taliban ambassador in Qatar, Suhail Shaheen, said to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, warning, or we will pursue a jihad. Now, I interpreted the meaning of jihad to mean we will use all means to achieve our goal. And what would their goal be when they are threatening the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio? Does this mean the Taliban would pursue sending in an assassin to the U.S. to take down Secretary of State Marco Rubio? What does this Taliban ambassador in Qatar mean? So that's going on. And now we have this from Politico. President Trump has a plan to fire many federal workers. And he has put out a new memo to all federal agencies. This is called Schedule Career/Policy. And it is a memo in conjunction with an executive order he has put forth to all federal agencies to conduct reviews of their employees in 90 days to determine whether these positions are actually needed by the federal government. So that's going on. Make America great again. Get rid of all those federal positions who are using money that should go to the American people. And now we have this. Oh, yeah. So we saw President Trump visit North Carolina. That was Sunday. He also visited California to look at the fires. Now we know, and I believe, we are currently under attack by the CCP inside the U.S. I believe the CCP is behind the California fires. Plus, it appears that President Trump, there may have been a potential CCP way of trying to assess how they could take down President Trump's plane on Sunday. So we have this happening. We had President Trump and Melania going to California and then returning on Air Force One. Well, President Trump's plane did land safely back in Florida on Sunday. When Air Force One is in the air, there's always a backup plane. This backup plane was harassed by a mysterious drone. Now, just a few days ago, we saw the CCP, the Chinese, come out and take down the geofencing software that's built into DJT drones. So the drones could not be tracked. This second backup plane for President Trump was harassed by a mysterious drone and then redirected to Washington, D.C. Andrews Air Force Base is near Washington, D.C. Planes and a helicopter were scrambled from Andrews to pursue the backup plane and the mysterious drone. two of the planes. We had Bravo 1, Bravo 2, and the helicopter was Blackjack 1. Pursued the mysterious drone. And that's all the information we have about this right now. Now, I will say this. Also coming out in California from Hal Turner's intel, and this is why I'm saying I believe it's the CCP causing the fires in California. Hal Turner has received information that from law enforcement, they have forensic evidence of drones and rockets being used to put down incendiary small bombs to create the fires. And the law enforcement has identified the source of the drones and say they are not U.S. commercial and they are not U.S. private citizen. So they are from and controlled by a nation state. I submit this is CCP right here in California. And along the Panama Canal, CCP. I also believe the CCP military are embedded in Mexico. So that's going on. And now we have this. Yeah, Air Force One had safely landed in Miami Saturday. This was not Sunday, Saturday, because we know President Trump played golf on Sunday when he addressed the issue in Colombia. So Saturday were the visits in North Carolina and California. And Andrews put up 2 fighter jets, Bravo 1, Bravo 2, and 1 helicopter, Blackjack 1, to intercept the target drone. So that's what we know. And now we have this from Hal Turner. Yeah, this is about the shootout in Fronton, Texas. The cartels opened fire at the U.S. border, firing against the Border Patrol in Texas. And Mexican military are staging at the border. There was an exchange of gunfire between Border Control and the cartels near Fronton, Texas. No individual was shot. As the cartels tried to bring illegals across the Rio Grande River, but the illegals were turned around. And now we have this. Border Patrol returned fire. The illegals did not cross into the U.S. border. And Hal Turner confirms the Mexican military is staging troops on the Mexican side of the border. And it's not known what the orders are to the Mexican military. Whether the Mexican military is to help the illegals cross into the U.S., or whether it's the job of the Mexican military to defend the cartels. So this concludes my update. It's good to pray for America, President Trump, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.